Hey everybody, Monday night. So I'm sitting here watching all this stuff play out. It's incredible, man. People are just flying into a panic. US declared China a currency manipulator. I bet most people don't even know what that entails. I don't even know, really. I've read the Treasury's statement on that. And they said now Mnuchin has to work with the IMF to, I guess, work out China's unfair advantage, whatever that means. It's a very, very nebulous thing, but the markets are in a sheer panic. This is very much like the November, December sell off. I don't know, what are we down, like not quite 10% on the S&P, but 7-ish or something like that. Now, let me just say this. First of all, China's not going anywhere. They're a major economic power, what, a 13, 14 trillion economy. The United States isn't going anywhere. We're a 22 trillion economy. China had a managed peg to the dollar for a very long time, as is normal for any developing nation. Look, the United States had all kinds of protections for its markets in the early 20th century. I mean, that's how the United States built up its industry. That's how it became an economic powerhouse. Same thing with Japan in the 80s, in the 70s, and the 80s. Markets were protected. They're like babies at the beginning, at the early stages. They need to be protected. You can't just thrust them out there into the harsh realities of the world and expect that they're automatically going to do well. So China was at the point where this had to happen. This had to happen. The upward pressure on RMB, on the Chinese currency, in my view, and maybe somebody would argue contrary to that, but in my view was evidence that China was or has had arrived as a major economic power, and not only that, that its currency was becoming in demand. Last year, or was it the year before, China's RMB was admitted as part of the basket in the IMF currency basket. It was a big step. Only big boys get that accession to that IMF basket. So China had to let go of this peg at some point. And that's what's happening right now. And by the way, I think this particular case is not a case of manipulation. I think what this is more a case of, you saw what happened, for example, in Hong Kong, what's going on there, and I think this triggered a speculative reaction against the Chinese currency. And I basically think the Chinese monetary authorities just said, hey, you know what? Thank you very much. We wanted that to happen anyway. Thank you, Hong Kong. Thank you, protesters. We wanted that to happen. But honestly, folks, I don't see this as a major negative. Certainly not in any way justifying the kind of panic that we're seeing right now. No way. A lot of cheap stocks out there right now. We'll see what happens. Remember, November, December last year, I was saying the same thing. Everybody was saying, no, it's the end of the world. And look what happened. We went on to make new all-time highs. Same thing is going to happen here. There's only one thing I would say that we would have to be worried about, and that is if the Fed makes a dumb move like restarting quantitative easing. That's the last thing we need right now, because a massive reserve dump onto the banks when they're finally generating some momentum in terms of loans and bank credit, that would be really dumb. But you're talking about the Powell Fed here, so that could definitely happen. See everybody tomorrow.